1212 Radio Culture once again. From yesterday, I did start telling you about a big surprise. Normally, I can't hold my surprise like that. Normally, I'll, be like Manoki Kame, then I'll say it. But this one day, I tried small, though. I held it tight right now. Yes, indeed. Emperor himself in the studios of Radio Culture. Are you ready? Yes, we have the man, Weero I Rastafari. Yes, Rastaman. The Emperor is in the house. And in the background, Sons of African Roots. We will be talking about that. Because if you did not know, Weero I has a lot to do with African roots. More than a lot. We'll touch base. We'll talk a little bit about the reggae industry in Ghana, how it's going, how it should go. A few things, Yes, we'll go there. We'll say a few things about that. It's gonna be short and brief, but it will be worth your while. Stick and stay. If you're watching us on social media, please share the links. And if you're watching us on one of the 10 or 12 or so other platforms on the radio, you are welcome. Radio Culture on a Sunday morning. Without much ado, let's go straight and talk to the man, Carl. Emperor Weero I Rastafari. Weero.
Yes, I am.
Blessed love, Empire.
Rastafari.
Wow. What a joy.
True.
What a joy. Empire. Yes. Wow. Serious things. Serious. Wow. Serious. Empire.
Yes, I am.
What brings you to Texas?
Well, I give thanks. I just came with my daughter here. She is she performs the violin. So
nice.
Yeah, yes. She's having an event here, so I came with her, and of course stopped by here this morning. So it's a nice. Day. Yes, indeed.
Give thanks. So when you say your daughter, you mean the same one that is playing on this tune right now?
Yes, sir.
Called Adulation for Dinkanesh.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Same one, yes.
Nice. We give thanks. True, thanks for the visit. We give thanks for blessing our platform like this. I'm so excited. I don't even know what to say or where to start.
I give thanks. Same way. True.
Empire.
Conqueror.
African roots.
Yeah.
Let's start talking. Let's start our discussion with African roots.
True.
How did the group African roots come together?
Well, give thanks for the question.
And what's your connection, by the way?
True.
Start with that.
So, African Roots is a duo which consists of two of my children.
Nice.
So, one of my sons and one of my daughters make up African Roots.
Wicked.
And, all of the kids have been playing instruments from they were very, very young. So, I have two of them who play violin, the youngest and, my daughter who's here with me. I have, my son who is on African Roots. He plays guitars, he plays bass, lead guitars, he plays the drums as well. And then my oldest daughter, she plays keyboards.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
Wait, so all your children play instruments?
Yes, all of them do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so... African Roots came about the two of them just came together and, did a thing. But it was just right around the time that the Where the Money rhythm came. So, once the rhythm came, they did a thing. We worked on it. And then we hit a studio, recorded. And they've been working together since that time. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's talk about Ghana reggae
True.
dancehall a bit. I don't even know how to describe that thing anymore because everybody has so many different,
Takes.
Yeah, it makes my head spin sometimes. But to keep it simple, I just wanna stick with Ghana reggae dancehall.
True. True.
What do you think is the state of that genre right now?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think that well, reggae, you know, what is known as reggae dance. So I guess it comprises a whole lot of things. So in terms of the reggae, I think that Ghanaian reggae artists are still pushing, getting their sounds out there locally, internationally. So is the dancehall artists. They're also doing their thing. I think that there is the need for a little bit movement towards the mainstream, right? And by that I mean that, like when it comes to live shows and things, it's like we are still limited to certain venues and certain areas, right? We have to be able to take it out. We keep those venues, right?
Yeah.
But take it out of there and bring it to other people who have not necessarily had the benefit of also being on the receiving end, So, and it's very doable, right?
Yeah.
We can hit the hotel circuit, for instance. You
Yep.
don't see a lot of live bands and stuff in hotels. So anybody who is doing reggae or and has a live band and would like to hit the hotel circuit, go around. There are hotels all the way from Jirapa to Takoradi and be a resident band there. We want to see some more movement into the mainstream. And we also want to feel the impact all across. So not just like Accra and Kumasi or Takoradi, but
not even Kumasi too much like that. Mostly Accra.
Mostly Accra.
Because even the Kumasi artists are migrating to Accra to get the shine.
Yeah.
Now that you bring up this thing, let me get your thoughts on something that's been going on social media a little bit. Osajifo, we all know Osajifo, very vocal artist, very, and then he took issues with Stonebwoy because Stonebwoy made a comment on Lagazi's program that appeared to be putting down Akuma Village. We all know Akuma Village, we all know the contribution of Akuma Village.
Right.
But I listened to Stonebwoy critically. Before I say what I think, did you listen to that?
No,
that so far?
I've not listened to Stonebwoy's interview.
Okay, all right. But basically, I'll sum it up for you so that we can still get your take on it. Basically, Stonebwoy was asked something about moving the vibes forward, and then he was saying something about some people that he came to meet in the game were still playing at Akuma Village or something to that effect, and then it was essential to move beyond Akuma Village. Essentially, I'm not quoting him, I'm just paraphrasing what he said. What do you think about that? Because not just Osajifo, but some other people seem to have taken a lot of offense to that type of that comment in particular.
Well, first of all, I didn't, like I said, I didn't hear the interview, but going with what you said, in terms of your paraphrase, I would say that there is how we convey messages. So I don't see anything wrong with the message, right? But also we have to craft our message in a certain way that's not necessarily
offend people.
Absolutely. So in terms of what he was saying, yes, it is true. I feel like Akuma Village has and continues to do an awesome job in nurturing and providing a space for artists. But it is also true that it is time for artists to take their craft on the bigger stages, on the road, right? So maybe the words were not chosen perfectly well, but in terms of the message, I really don't see anything wrong with that. I think it is the right message, right? That yes, you get your training grounds at Akuma Village, but what about the other villages, right? We need to.
What about the other villages?
True.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And then there are another issue that's also big in the industry is that some people seem to be usurping the art form. I'm using usurping wisely because I don't know if it's anybody's right to keep it in their corner, right? I feel like it's an art form. Anybody who has the dexterity to, practice it should be able to practice it. But some people feel like um, some people have been on the journey for a very long time, been in the Gideon and been through the persecution at the time where reggae was kind of looked down on. Reggae artists were, thrown on the side. They were there, they stood firm and everything. And now it's an industry almost, and people are coming in to take the shine. What's your take on that?
Unfortunately, you look all over the world, that happens.
Mm,
The originators of any genre of music are not the ones who tend to be the ones who benefit from it.
mm,
It happens. It so happens that those who come in later are the ones who get a shine and benefit. If you ask me why is this so, I cannot answer. But
mhm.
look at, for instance, when we look at blues music in the United States, for instance, the original blues musicians, they never made any money or anything
Yeah,
from the music. But here
yeah.
comes Elvis Presley, takes it, and then he becomes the king of rock
Hmm.
and roll, which is just a revision of the blues, right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that is the situation. Like, but at the same time, all is not lost. Those who have stood firm from all those times, if some people are getting the shine right now, then it means that the shine is there, and the cake is so big that you can also have a piece of that cake. So come back into the fold and also continue doing your thing, and you know market your stuff, and definitely you also get a slice of the cake. So
Mm,
I don't see it as a limiting force. There are opportunities that we should also realize.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. And then also, I don't want to mention names for this one,
Right.
but who the cup fits, let them wear it. you know, but some of the artists are very, very peeved at the fact that some of the DJs, seem to be suggesting that reggae artists have to conform to a certain standard to be accepted by the audience. The way they dress, the way they carry themselves, even some of their viewpoints. One very famous DJ is on record as saying that we have to um, rebrand. Rebrand. He has his own, definition for rebranding to be able to attract sponsorship. Which I think we are asking for us as as an industry. And he feels like we have to let go certain things and adopt certain things to be able to conform to what, say, corporate Ghana, if there's anything like that, would accept, and therefore put their money in. How do you see that?
Well, the first thing is, that I think is a question is like when we talk about sponsorship, is corporate Ghana the only way of getting any kind of
Hmm.
sponsorship,
Hmm.
right? Like I said earlier on, there are avenues that we are not looking at.
Yes.
Maybe we also need to look at those avenues,
Hmm.
right? What about hotels and restaurants and
Yep.
live show
Yep.
venues, and also sometimes you don't necessarily need a sponsorship. You have to go out there, do your thing, and then use that as a stepping stone to
Hmm.
do what you need to do. Now,
Yep.
if you want to go the corporate way, understand that there may be requests for compromise,
Hmm.
and there may be certain things that you do not want to compromise on.
Yes.
But if you go that route, then they're going to ask you to do certain things. I
Hmm.
mean, it happens all over the world,
Mm.
where musicians are asked to, you know, give up so many things for some kind of corporate. They want you to fit a certain image.
Acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But that does not necessarily mean that you do not have an audience as an artist. An artist, you can always create your own audience. You don't necessarily need a corporation to do that for you,
Hmm.
right? But it is a two-edged sword. If you want to go that route, you have to understand that it comes with certain demands of that territory, and that may include compromising a large part of your identity yourself.
Hmm.
So, you got to take it or leave it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which and a lot of these so-called compromises that we're talking about, go to the very heart of who our reggae artists are.
Absolutely.
Right? This most of them are racists. Some of
Yes.
them, don't want to compromise on something like their ganja, for
Right, right,
instance.
right, right.
And even beside the ganja, most Rastamen don't want to be told how to dress.
Yes, indeed.
Like dressing, it's not about looking shabby or stinking or anything like that, but you're trying to get them to dress a
Yes.
certain way, and a lot of people don't really want to go that route.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. You have to stick to your principles. If your
Yes.
principles is that, you know what, I don't want to kowtow to any kind of system that tells me how to dress, then stick to that and keep doing your thing. I'm saying right now we are in an era where we are not so limited because we have different ways of reaching out to the world.
Yes.
And we have to take advantage of those ways,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Instead of
Yes.
just thinking that if I don't go this route, then I'm not. No,
Yeah.
it's not. That's
Yeah,
not true.
and that's a nice segue to to the next question I was going to ask you, because in this age of social media, we've seen an outburst of artists that we may probably never have seen back in the day, right? When the only place that would let you come in and record was Sammy Luper's studio,
Right.
and maybe a few others. These days, because of social media, because of even Apple, what do you call it, the garage band and
Right.
all of these things, a lot of people are self-producing, self-promoting.
Indeed. Yes.
What's your take on that?
I think look, we have the technology today. I see people record music on their laptops.
Yes, even phones.
Yeah, even phones.
Yes.
And develop that music to a level where it can be released and appreciated by audiences.
Yep.
It doesn't matter the technology you use. It is the quality that you're putting out there.
Yes.
So if we have these tools at our disposal, then we have to make good use of them.
Yes.
When, like you said, back in the day, there was nothing like that. You had to hustle, first of all, do your thing, save some money, go to the studio, do a demo, and then
All
after the
of that.
demo, you have to go and, do the actual recording
Yes.
and then try to release
Impress somebody to
even finance it and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. Right now, you have the tools. We have the tools at our doorstep, at our fingertips.
Yes.
Let's make use of it. Let's not limit ourselves. We can reach the world. Look, one thing that I noticed when I first came to the Western world was that there were certain Jamaican artists that we knew in Africa that even nobody knew them in Jamaica. And there were certain songs that were hits back when we were growing up that nobody knew in Jamaica in terms of reggae. And the question was why?
Yeah.
Because these artists from even those times did not see Jamaica as their so to speak, their grounds.
The
They
market,
saw the world as their grounds.
Yeah.
So through EMI, through Virgin Records, they were able to release stuff that catered to the West African, Ghanaian, Nigerian markets as well. So in the same way, today you can sit in your village in Franchinabetu Michoko and
Actually, that's how they took chocolate.
you can sit in your village in Franchinabetu Michoko and record and do everything and release.
Yes.
So let's look. You can sit in Ghana and have a hit song in Kenya.
Yes.
And some Ghanaian artists are doing that, by the way.
Yes.
You can hit in Gambia. You can hit in Jamaica.
Yes.
So let's take advantage of this.
And Emperor, let me disclosure. The title track of my album, Zion Awake.
Right.
Do you know it was originally the original works was done on an iPhone? Yes. The instrumentation, all of that was done on an iPhone before we sent it over to Jamaica for Turbulence to add his stuff to it and all of that. But yeah, that's an example of what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
And I remember sitting in my car at night, busily working on that thing on my phone.
Indeed.
And I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination, but I was able to put the basics down and then pass it on for somebody else who had the knowledge to pick it up.
Indeed. Yeah.
Now let me ask you about another very another big bone of contention: the people who call themselves gatekeepers in Ghana. Are they a disincentive or what? Because from where I sit, it looks as if there's a cabal. I don't even want to mix words, mince words. It's more or less like a cabal. And I'm not talking about reggae. I'm talking about generally music, the music industry in Ghana. Because, for instance, if you take the awards scheme, for instance, you realize that they reserve one spot for reggae song of the year or something like that, right? And then everything else is like, and even for that one spot, they would find somebody who may not necessarily be, part of the reggae fraternity, and then that award goes to them. Are these gatekeepers doing the industry any good, the genre any good?
No, I don't think so. First of all, by them being gatekeepers, what does a gatekeeper do?
Basically,
yeah, a gatekeeper is there to make sure that certain people don't pass through the gate.
yes,
And if for any reason that person determines that you're not qualified to pass through the gate, then
yes,
you're not going
by
through
whatever
the gate.
standard they're using.
Right, but I also want to emphasize that as artists should not really focus on those gatekeepers. If you are doing quality work and the quality work is reaching your audience, the audience will appreciate that quality work. You don't, I know, I mean, everybody may not agree to this, but you don't necessarily need an award to prove that you're a good artist.
Yes.
Bob Marley never won any Grammy, but he's still the number one reggae.
Yes. Yes.
Singer. To this day, he's not like his songs are always in the top 10 categories of Billboard or whatever. So and a lot of roots artists that we know, just mentioned them, Gladiators, Mighty Diamonds.
Yep.
They all weren't working for awards. So in the same way, I think that an award may be some kind of recognition, but if even the award is tailored to certain people and not to the industry, then it's certainly not doing us any good. Like necessarily, you can actually take somebody like an artist, for instance. I'm going to make a name up, Black Pharaoh, right? And maybe Black Pharaoh does not really play reggae, but has one reggae song.
Yes.
And then you give Black Pharaoh the award for the song of the year, whilst those who have 12, 14 reggae songs on their albums, are not recognized at all, then you're not actually providing any motivation for artists in the industry.
Yes. And so now let's talk about not Black Pharaoh, but Black Rasta.
Yes, sir.
Who just had a festival called the Kuchoko Festival. I don't know if you were following.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, he did some things that were phenomenal. First of all, he served local food.
Oh, that was awesome, man. A big shout out for that. Huge shout out for that.
And it was free.
Free.
You know what? He said he saw some Rasta man with 25 sticks of 25 sticks of Aital kebab at one time. That's how abundant it must have been.
and the Rasta man too, why? 20
at a go, like really. He's drinking like 5 at a time, something,
Oh my God. Leave some for somebody.
Leave some for somebody. You alone, 25. And then there was Kose and there was Coco. And how cool was that?
That was absolutely phenomenal. I think, that's the way to go. Shout out to Black Rasta for that. No, number one, you are actually providing food for patrons.
Yeah.
Number one, knowing that the concert can go deep into the night and people may be hungry.
Yes.
Number two, you are promoting our indigenous
foods.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You are not only feeding you are introducing to people who may not even have had it before, or people who may not be as familiar with it.
Yes.
So that's a huge shout out for that.
Yeah. And apart from the food, the concert itself, all these artists, and from what he told me on Radio Culture, I think last week or so, most of the people did not even charge him to be on the show.
Wow.
Somebody like Shatta Wale, I don't know who. First of all, he was beefing with Shatta Wale at some point, right? So I was making a joke, to him about, and let's connect that with his refusal to take awards, right? He returned awards and whatnot. So I kind of linked that and made a joke about he deserves a special award for getting Shatta Wale to come on the show.
True.
And he said most of the artists that came did not even charge him to be on the show.
That's
Like he
right.
enjoyed a lot of goodwill. And also, if you watch the show itself, you see that it was very well organized.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Without all the, well, I don't know, we didn't talk too much about where he got his sponsorship from, but from what he said, it doesn't seem like he got that sponsorship that you have to dress
Yeah,
nice
yeah, yeah.
and give
Corporate.
part
Yeah,
of yourself to go get.
absolutely.
You know, he what's your take generally apart from the food, like the organization and all of that?
Well, let me start with the sponsorship here
Hmm.
again. As I mentioned, there are other avenues, right? I
Yeah.
think that one avenue that we really don't utilize in Ghana is writing for grants.
Hmm.
We can actually plan and say, okay, we want to have a festival. Let me write a proposal
Hmm.
to get some grants
Yes.
to sponsor that festival, and those grants are there. They're being taken by, you know, other
Other
people,
people,
right?
yes.
So that's something we need to look into. I don't know if that was his approach because
Hmm.
with that now, if you are showing that you are doing something in the performing arts
Hmm.
and that is what the grant is for, then you write it. Most likely, you're going to get it. They're
Yeah.
not going to ask you for, any kind of dress this way or do
Yeah.
this or that. You're
Yeah.
just supporting the arts, right?
Yeah.
So that is definitely one avenue. But yeah, I think that there was a great variety. I was so happy. Samuel Wusu, who's one of my favorite, high life artists, was
Hmm.
on there.
Yeah.
There were female artists nicely represented.
Yep.
There were, Ghanaian artists,
Yep.
artists from around the world,
Yes, the Burkinabe artists in the
Burkinabe
wheelchair
artists in
who
the
are here
wheelchair.
tore it apart.
Yes, yes, indeed. And we had, nice works,
Yeah.
on the show. So, yes, big up Black Rasta.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
And I think that Black Rasta, you should share some of your organizing secrets with everybody else, so we can have more shows like that. But some of them he doesn't need to share. You can just look and emulate, like
absolutely.
serving ITAL food
Indeed,
for
indeed,
free and things
indeed,
like that. It's
indeed.
very, very, very nice. Now, one other artist that's really kept it going. And I have so much respect for this brother, because he has been there through thick and thin, Osajifo,
True.
and he keeps hitting on the live shows. He too, I don't know how he's able to put the equipment and all the logistics together, but he is one good example of self promotion
Yes,
that
indeed.
we were talking about a short
Hmm.
while ago. He is one person who has made massive use of social media
True.
to promote his art. And then we have people like Boomba, who's always like with him and all of that. These are people who are really who've been there,
True.
right? Does anybody else come to mind?
In this day and age, well, of course, you just finished talking to Raskobi, right?
Yes,
He's also,
yes,
he's also one who's made good use of
yeah,
the modern technology to reintroduce his music to a
yeah,
new audience.
yeah.
So yeah, there are people. Of course, we all, both of us, like young upcoming lady Alab Tawan. You
Yes,
know,
I love Tawan.
yeah,
Serious.
who is also making very
Yes,
good use. So there are individuals who are taking advantage, but we want to see more of that.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I love Tawan that you just mentioned. She has a team, by the way. She has management who are very much on top of things.
Okay.
I've been. Would you believe that throughout the whole process of bringing her on the rhythm and all of that, I never spoke with her directly.
Oh, I see.
Yes, it was always with the management,
Okay.
but it was very smooth also.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
So yes,
Nice. Nice.
she, and then I love to see players of instrument
Yes, indeed.
behind her
Hmm.
in the north.
Yes, absolutely.
This is why reggae should not be limited to a crowd.
No, at all.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll bounce soon. But
Yes, sir.
before we do that, let me ask you about the Where the Money Rhythm,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You were one of the brains behind that whole project, and we are also thinking of bringing another one. I don't want to announce the name of the new rhythm yet because it's part of the promotion plan. But tell us something about that.
About Where the Money Rhythm.
Yeah, and then with the subsequent one that's in the works.
Sure. So of course, Where the Money Rhythm, I think, is a rhythm which came out at a time where the message, the title of the rhythm, the players of the instruments, the opportunities that it afforded players of instruments and singers was just perfectly timed. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of scandals were going on in Ghana, in terms of missing monies and
Yeah.
all this kind of thing. So the title itself gave us food for thought.
Yeah.
Where the money,
Yeah.
right? And then there were politicians who were making promises to the people and promising them that things were going to get better and all this kind of stuff, and people were feeling any money in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So the rhythm came at an opportune time to ask that question, where the money. But bringing it home a little bit, when we look at the whole project, it started out with a certain focus, but then it exploded beyond that particular
Yes.
focus.
Yes.
And the great thing about that is that it provided us the wherewithal to see that there's so much talent right
Yes.
in front of our
Yes.
eyes
Yes.
in
Yes.
Ghana,
Yes.
from every single region,
Yep.
right? From all genders. It's not just a male dominated
Yep.
thing. We saw phenomenal female artists, and
Yep.
this Konya was on there. Koina, I should say.
Yes.
Of course, Senna was
Dagadu.
on there.
Alaptawan, of
Alaptawan,
course.
of course,
Yeah.
right? I think I'm missing one more.
Misha Steele.
Misha Steele, right?
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So all these artists were on there. We had,
And of course, we also had African Roots.
African Roots was on there,
yes.
right? So, and then again, we had new artists, and we had older artists who were also introduced to the idea of playing on a rhythm,
Yes. Yes.
who took advantage of that as well.
Yes.
And then we had a good variety of language use. That's one of the things I really
Yes.
enjoy on
Yeah.
the album.
Yeah.
We have people doing straight English. We have people doing pidgin English. We have people doing Cree. We have people doing Ewe. We have people doing all kinds of languages. And really, that's where I want to see it. And I think that the rhythm answered all those questions. And then we also had the international aspect.
Yep. Yep.
Bringing in a few artists
Yeah.
out the world. So yeah.
Nice. So the engineer who had sleepless nights, mixing and mastering over 30 songs, he complained a little bit, but he thinks that going forward we should introduce fewer artists on the next project. Do you agree?
I think so. I think fewer artists, and maybe breaking. I think we talked about this, breaking, like having segments. So if, for instance, we have 30 artists, maybe not to come up with the whole 30 all at once. Maybe break it into two. Have 15 out beginning of the year, and then towards the end of the year or summertime or whatever, the next 15 will come out. But yeah, it is the way to go. Yeah.
Nice. Emperor Weero.
Conqueror.
Thank you very much. Before we go though, first of all, who are some of the Ghanaian artists that you are really following closely at this time?
Oh, that's a great question.
I'm putting you to the wall a bit.
Yeah.
And if your name doesn't get mentioned, it doesn't mean that the emperor is not following you. All right. I'm just just spur of the moment.
Yeah, I follow a whole lot. As you can tell.
Let me spare you that. But let's focus on one artist, Ras Boomba.
Yes, indeed. I was just about to, yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about that guy? He's phenomenal.
Absolutely. Boomba has always been a phenomenal musician.
Yes.
Right? He is not only a phenomenal bassist, but also a phenomenal singer.
Yes.
The way he crafts his music, the way he sings, right? The way he writes his, compositions. It's just awesome. And I'm just, looking forward to him getting, more recognition.
Yes.
In the coming years. So absolutely. He's a pillar in the industry.
Yes.
Unsung hero, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he has backed so many artists.
I mean, there's almost no live show particularly related.
These days,
that you don't see him on there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How about the DJs though? Some of the DJs, I know a lot of DJs who play reggae just to be recognized. They don't even get paid. But there are also a lot of DJs who get paid, but they will not play your music if you don't give them local feel.
Right.
And then also there are some who will be like, I just don't want to play this type of music. They want to play the music that's already out there, like the Shatawales and the Stone Boys, and they don't recognize some of the other artists who are struggling. But I think that there should be a fraternity to help to promote those who are struggling. What's your take on that? You yourself are a top presenter, right?
Right.
Back in the day, Radio Universe and all of that.
True.
And you actually groomed a lot of people who are on radio right now, including myself. You know, what's your take on how the reggae DJs are handling the genre?
Well, the thing is, we cannot limit our play to those who are already recognized. Let's first of all, even on the very basic level, those who are recognized are not the only ones making good music.
Yes.
Good music is made from people across all segments of the society. So if we are playing reggae, we should make it a point to have at least if you cannot do it all, just one or two slots for upcoming new talent.
Yes.
Right? You can play your Stoneboy and Shatawale all day, but also if somebody's coming up and his or her music is good, let's give them a little room, to also shine.
Like Jawais, for instance.
True.
I think Jawais is an artist that if you take seriously, he will be a great export.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Yes, and I'm not limiting it to Jawais, but
Right,
I think
that's
that
an example.
is a good example of the point we're making right now.
True.
Empire,
Konkaya.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
we're about to
Give
bounce
thanks.
and go do some other things, but right now, last words before we go.
Well, it's a joy, Congo, and it's an honor to be here. I want to give thanks for the works that you have put in and for the works that you're putting in. You are bringing us to think about the industry day in and day out, and we really appreciate that. There's almost like no topic that you don't discuss on your radio and TV. I want to say that I want everybody who's listening to not only listen and watch radio culture TV and I mean culture TV and radio culture, but also make it an intentional point to promote it, right?
Yes.
Tell your friends about it, share it, let people also engage in it. So we give thanks.
Yes, nothing. And speaking of that, I just want to make the point that some of our artists also, right, need to understand what we're doing.
True.
As a fraternity, because for instance, you put artists on the rhythm, for instance, and then you ask them to share their artwork on their own profiles, and they don't even do that.
Yeah.
If they get an interview, a one-time interview on, say, Joy FM or any of these other platforms, they go ballistic with it. But you have a platform which is dedicated to promoting your genre 24/7, 365, and they feel like, I think that is sad.
It is sad.
And I think it's contributing to the reason why reggae music in Ghana is where it's at.
See, the thing is, I think one thing that sometimes we fail to realize is that if you don't build yourself at home, you're not going to be able to build yourself abroad. You can go on Joy for one day. If you don't have that backing from your home team, it will be a one-time affair, and then they'll dump you somewhere else.
Yep.
But if your home team is consistently behind you, and if you're part of that community, and your name is consistently being mentioned, then after that interview, Joy will call you back for another because you see that your name is, in the mention all the time. So you cannot reject your home team in favor of corporate. I think that's one thing that most of our people are doing, is just focusing on the corporate side of things, which necessarily is not also always friendly to us. So.
Nice. Empire.
Konkaya.
Listen, love. Give thanks.
Right.
We're bouncing right now. We give thanks for this amazing discussion, and first of all, the surprise. I started telling you yesterday. I know the man is here for, some major things. So I wasn't 100% sure if he could pass through, which is also why I did not say it for sure. But yeah, here you have it, Emperor Weero himself. We give thanks and praise all the time. We're bouncing right now on the heels of Adulation for Dinkanesh by Africani Roots. One love every time.